Hey friends, welcome to Black Screen Stories, where we listen, relax, and drift off to sleep. I'm your host, Jason, and I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. Tonight, we'll drift into a gentler tale, one you may think you know, The Three Little Pigs. But tonight, it's not a story of huffing and puffing. Instead, it's about a friendly wolf named Theodore taking a quiet stroll through the woods to meet his new neighbors. It's a warm, friendly story designed to ease you into a peaceful sleep. Now, let's take a few moments to prepare ourselves for this story and get comfortable for a restful night. Start by giving your body a full stretch, reaching up to the sky and down to the floor, taking a deep breath or two as you do. When you're ready, exhale, relax, and find the position that feels most restful for your body. As you settle in, bring your focus to your body. Pay attention to your breath as it moves in and out, feeling the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the steady beat of your heart. Take a moment to tune into the rhythm of your body, the inhaling and exhaling. Now, imagine a calm pool of water before you. Watch as a leaf gently falls from above, touching the surface and floating peacefully. Each leaf represents a thought from your day, and as it lands and sinks into the water, let each thought drift away with it. More leaves fall, one by one, each carrying away a worry, a thought, or a concern, until all have landed and sunk beneath the surface. The water becomes still, calm, and clear. Look up from the pool and see the woods surrounding it. A little house sits nearby, and from its open windows, you hear the cheerful sound of whistling. And this, my friends, is where our story begins. In a quiet, misty valley where the rain fell in soft, rhythmic drizzles, there lay a little forest where the world seemed to slow down. The leaves, glistening with tiny beads of water, whispered gently in the breeze, and the paths were lined with wildflowers that nodded their sleepy heads. It was a place of calm, a place of warmth, where even the rain felt soft and kind. Beneath the wide branches of ancient oaks, tucked away in cozy little homes, lived three very special pigs. Now, you may think you know the story of the three little pigs, the one with the huffing and puffing wolf. But tonight, under the gentle patter of rain and in the glow of a quiet fire, we'll hear a different tale, a softer one that carries the scent of fresh straw, warm bricks, and kindness. It's a story that will soothe your mind and lead you gently into sleep. The three little pigs were not just brothers, they were the best of friends. There was Benjamin, the eldest, who was calm and thoughtful, with a steady heart and a love for sturdy things. Then came Oliver, the middle brother, who laughed often and loved the feel of cool mud between his hooves. And finally, there was Peter, the youngest, small and sprightly, with a nose for adventure and eyes that sparkled with curiosity. One rainy afternoon, when the world outside their little clearing was wrapped in a soft gray mist, the three brothers decided it was time to build their own homes. Not because they wanted to leave each other, but because they wanted to create something of their own. Something special. Benjamin chose to build his house from bricks, solid and red, each one carefully laid by his steady hooves. His house stood strong against the rain, the little chimney puffing out wisps of warm smoke, as if it, too, was content to stand in the soft drizzle. Oliver decided on wood, warm and fragrant. He gathered the finest logs he could find, polished them until they gleamed with rain, and built a house that smelled like pine and fresh earth. It wasn't as strong as Benjamin's brick house, but it felt warm and comforting, like a hug on a chilly evening. And Peter, well, Peter loved the feel of straw, the way it crackled and whispered as he worked. He built his house quickly, with bundles of golden straw tied together with care, and when it was done, it glowed in the rain like a field of sunshine. The brothers visited each other often, their laughter filling the forest like birdsong. They shared meals, stories, and the kind of warmth that only comes from knowing you are truly home. But one evening, as the rain began to fall in earnest, a soft patter turning into a steady, soothing rhythm, a visitor arrived. He was tall and thin, with a coat of gray fur that shimmered in the rain. His eyes were not fierce, but gentle, soft, and curious. This was no ordinary wolf. This was Theodore, a traveler who had walked many miles, not to cause trouble, but to find a place where he could belong. Theodore knocked softly on the door of Peter's straw house, the sound barely louder than the falling rain. "Hello, is anyone home?" he called, his voice deep but kind. Peter, curious and not the least bit afraid, peeked out from behind the golden curtain of straw. "Who's there?" he asked, his voice bright and light as the rain. "It's just me, a tired traveler seeking shelter from the rain," Theodore replied, his ears tipping back in a hopeful gesture. Peter opened the door wide, the soft rain soaking the ground at his feet. "Come in," he said with a smile, "you must be cold and wet." Theodore stepped inside, shaking off the rain like a gentle shower of silver droplets. "Thank you," he said, settling by the small hearth where Peter had built a fire, the warmth wrapping around him like a soft blanket. "You are kind, little pig." Peter laughed softly, offering the wolf a cup of warm broth. "Kindness is easy when the rain falls like this." And so, the wolf stayed. Not because he wanted to huff and puff or to blow anything down, but because, at long last, he had found a place where the rain was soft, the company kind, and the little houses glowed like lanterns in the misty twilight. As the fire crackled, and the rain continued its soothing melody, Peter and Theodore talked of simple things. Of the beauty of the forest, the warmth of the hearth, and the joy of finding friendship in the most unexpected places. The rain whispered against the straw walls, the fire's light dancing in gentle flickers, and the world outside melted into a soft, comforting hum. There was no fear here, only warmth, quiet laughter, and the peace of knowing that sometimes even wolves are just looking for a place to call home. And so, dear listener, as you close your eyes and let the story drift into the soft corners of your mind, remember this: the rain falls kindly, the fire is warm, and the gentle wolf will keep watch as you drift into sleep. But, of course, the story is not over. There are still more whispers of kindness, more tales of warmth to come. But for now, let the rain sing its lullaby and rest. The next morning, the rain had softened into a gentle mist that clung to the trees, turning the forest into a world of soft grays and greens. The earth smelled of rain-soaked pine, and the air felt fresh, cool, and peaceful. Inside the straw house, the little pig Peter awoke to the sound of the fire crackling softly, the warmth still lingering in the room. Theodore, the wolf, was already awake, sitting by the window, watching the mist swirl through the trees. He turned when Peter stirred, his eyes gentle and full of quiet gratitude. "Good morning," Theodore said softly, his voice like the low rumble of distant thunder, but without a hint of menace. "Did you sleep well?" Peter stretched, his small frame relaxing back into the cozy straw bed. "I did," he said with a smile, "and it was nice having company. It's not often I share this little house." Theodore's ears perked up slightly, and he tilted his head. "It's a lovely home," he said. "Small, but full of warmth." Peter beamed, pleased. "Thank you. It's not as sturdy as my brother's houses, but it feels just right to me." The mention of his brothers sparked a thought in Peter's mind. "Oh, would you like to meet them? I think they'd like you." Theodore blinked in surprise, his gray fur catching the soft light from the fire. "You would introduce me to your family?" "Why not?" Peter said, hopping up. "You're kind, and you needed a place to stay. My brothers are kind too. They'll welcome you." The wolf's expression softened further, touched by the little pig's trust. "I would be honored," he said, his voice quiet but full of sincerity. And so, they set out together, the wolf walking beside the little pig as the rain kissed the earth in gentle drops. They made their way through the forest, following the well-trodden path to Oliver's wooden house. Oliver's house was as warm and welcoming as the pig who built it. The wooden beams glowed with a rich, honey hue, and smoke curled lazily from the chimney, carrying the scent of freshly baked bread. As they approached, Oliver stepped out onto the porch, a curious smile spreading across his face when he saw his brother with the wolf. "Peter. And who is this?" Oliver asked, his voice friendly but laced with curiosity. "This is Theodore," Peter said brightly. "He's a traveler, and he stayed with me last night to keep out of the rain." Oliver looked Theodore up and down, then smiled warmly. "Well, any friend of Peter's is welcome here. Come in, both of you. Breakfast is ready." Inside the wooden house, the warmth was immediate. A soft fire burned in the hearth, and the smell of bread and sweet honey filled the air. Theodore sat carefully by the fire, mindful of his large frame, while Oliver bustled about, setting plates on the table. "You're very kind," Theodore said as Oliver placed a warm loaf of bread in front of him. Oliver shrugged with a grin. Kindness is easy when shared over a good meal. They ate together in companionable silence, the rain tapping gently on the roof above. Theodore listened to the brothers talk, their laughter filling the room with a warmth he had never known. It felt like he had stepped into a dream, one where the world was soft and forgiving, and there was always room by the fire. As the morning stretched on, Peter suddenly said, "We should visit Benjamin next. He'll want to meet you too." Theodore glanced between the two pigs, his heart full but uncertain. "Are you sure? I don't want to impose." Oliver laughed, clapping him on the shoulder. "Nonsense. Benjamin loves guests, even if he pretends to be serious all the time. Come on, let's go." And so, they set off again, this time through the damp forest paths that led to Benjamin's sturdy brick house. The mist was beginning to lift, the rain reduced to a fine drizzle, and the forest was waking up, birds singing softly from the branches above. Benjamin's house stood strong and proud, red bricks shining wetly in the rain. He opened the door before they could knock, his serious face softening at the sight of his brothers. "Peter, Oliver, and who is this?" he asked, eyes settling on Theodore with curiosity. "This is Theodore," Peter explained. "He's a traveler, and we thought you'd like to meet him." Benjamin studied the wolf for a long moment, then stepped aside. "Come in," he said simply. Theodore followed, unsure but grateful. Benjamin's house was solid and warm, the fire glowing steadily in the hearth. It smelled of books and fresh herbs, a comforting, grounding scent. As they settled in, Benjamin poured hot tea, his movements precise and calm. "You're welcome here," he said quietly, looking at Theodore. "Anyone who finds their way to our home deserves kindness." Theodore bowed his head, the warmth of their acceptance filling a place in his heart he hadn't known was cold. "Thank you," he whispered, "for your kindness. It means more than I can say." As the afternoon wore on, the rain finally stopped, and the forest glistened, fresh and renewed. Inside the brick house, 3 little pigs and one kind wolf shared stories, laughter, and the peace that only comes from finding a place to belong. And so, dear listener, as the fire burns low, and the world outside settles into quiet, know that kindness can be found in unexpected places. And perhaps tonight, as you drift into sleep, you'll dream of a little forest where the rain falls softly, and even wolves find a warm place by the fire. As night gently descended upon the little forest, a sense of quiet contentment settled over the trio of pigs and their unexpected friend. The forest, once damp and heavy with rain, now seemed to hum with a soft, comforting energy. The ground was alive with the soft rustling of leaves, and the scent of wet earth mixed with the fresh smell of pine, as though the entire world had been washed clean. The 4 of them, Peter, Oliver, Benjamin and Theodore sat together by the hearth in Benjamin's brick house, the warmth of the fire curling around them like an embrace. Outside, the last remnants of the rain clung to the trees, and the stars began to peek through the clouds, shy and distant. It was a night full of possibilities, one that promised peace and rest, where dreams could settle softly into the mind. As the flickering flames cast shadows on the stone walls, Theodore spoke again, his voice low and thoughtful. "You know," he began, "I've traveled through many lands, met countless creatures, but I've never known a place quite like this. A place so full of warmth and of kindness." His eyes, reflecting the firelight, looked toward the three little pigs, and his voice softened further. "I've always been alone, not by choice, but by circumstance. And I've forgotten what it's like to feel welcomed." Peter, who had always been the most sensitive of the three, reached over and placed a small hoof on Theodore's. "But now you're not alone," he said, his voice soft yet firm with reassurance. "You have us." His words hung in the air for a moment, as if the very breath of the forest had paused to listen. Oliver, who had a natural gift for turning any moment into a reason to smile, grinned and nudged Theodore playfully. "And trust me," he said, his voice light and teasing, "you may have thought you knew what kindness was, but it's a whole new level when you've got three pigs ready to share their meals and their stories with you." Benjamin, who had been quiet until now, gave a small smile. He wasn't one to speak much, but when he did, his words carried weight. "Kindness is never a burden," he said softly, his gaze steady. "It's like the rain, it falls gently, and in time, it nourishes everything it touches. No matter how small the gesture, it all adds up. It makes everything grow." Theodore nodded, feeling the truth of Benjamin's words settle in his chest. For the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of belonging, a sense that, perhaps, he had been searching for all along. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the fire dance in the hearth. The rain had stopped completely, leaving only the soft smell of damp earth and the faint, lingering sound of distant trickling streams. The forest outside seemed to be at peace, wrapped in the kind of stillness that only comes after a storm. Peter yawned, his small body stretching out on the soft rug beside the fire. I think it's time to rest," he said sleepily. "Tomorrow is another day, and who knows what adventures we'll have then." Oliver nodded, his eyes heavy with drowsiness. "You're right, little brother," he murmured. "We've had quite the day. Let's sleep well and wake up ready for whatever comes next." Benjamin stood and placed another log onto the fire, the crackling of the wood filling the quiet. "Tomorrow will come, just like today did," he said, his voice gentle. "But tonight, we rest." And so, the four of them made their way to their beds, Peter, curled up in his cozy straw home, Oliver in his wooden house, and Benjamin in his sturdy brick one. Theodore, though, stayed in the brick house with Benjamin, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. The gentle sound of the forest outside, the soft glow of the fire, and the warmth of newfound friendship all wrapped around him like a blanket. The storm had passed. The world outside was calm and clear, and inside, in the little brick house, the four of them drifted into a peaceful sleep. As you listen, dear friend, let the calm of this moment fill you as well. Imagine the soft rain, the warm fire, the quiet companionship of those who welcome you without question. Let that warmth and kindness embrace you, and allow yourself to rest, just like Theodore, just like Peter, Oliver, and Benjamin. For tonight, there are no worries, no fears. There is only the warmth of kindness, the peace of the rain, and the gentle invitation to sleep. The next morning, the world outside was bathed in soft golden light, the rain having completely washed away the gloom of the previous day. The forest was alive again, the birds singing in chorus as the dew on the leaves shimmered like diamonds in the early light. The air was crisp, fresh, and cool, perfect for a peaceful morning walk. But inside the low brick house, things were quieter, slower. Theodore, still nestled in the warmth of his bed by the fire, awoke to the sound of birds chirping outside. He stretched slowly, the muscles in his body waking up after a long night's rest. For the first time in ages, he felt truly rested, his mind clear and calm. The stress of traveling, of always looking over his shoulder, had melted away in the warmth of the little house and the kindness of the pigs. Benjamin was already awake, as was often the case. He was sitting by the fire, sipping a cup of warm tea, his eyes thoughtful as he watched the light change outside. When he noticed Theodore stirring, he gave a small nod, acknowledging his presence without needing words. Theodore smiled in return, his voice quiet. "Good morning." Benjamin looked up, his steady gaze meeting the wolf's. "Good morning. I trust you slept well?" "I did," Theodore said softly, his voice full of gratitude. "Better than I've slept in a long time." Benjamin's lips curled into a small smile. "Good. Rest is important." His eyes softened. "It's a gift to be able to rest easy." Theodore nodded, feeling the truth of Benjamin's words settle deep within him. For too long, he had been moving, never staying in one place long enough to feel truly safe. And now, in this moment, it was as though the world had paused, just long enough for him to catch his breath. Peter and Oliver came bustling in soon after, each of them looking bright and full of energy, ready to start the day. "Good morning, Theodore," Peter said, his voice high with excitement. "It's such a beautiful day. I was thinking we could go for a walk through the forest, see what's changed after all that rain." Oliver, always the practical one despite his light-hearted nature, added, "I've got a few things to take care of around here, but I'll join you when I can." Theodore looked at the three pigs, feeling a warmth spreading through him. They had opened their homes and hearts to him, and now their offer of companionship felt like the natural next step. "I'd like that," Theodore said, his voice steady but full of quiet appreciation. "A walk sounds lovely." With that, the four of them headed out the door, into the misty morning. The sun was rising, casting long shadows over the forest floor. The air was rich with the scent of pine and wet earth, and the leaves above them rustled softly in the breeze. As they walked along the path, the sound of their footsteps mingled with the soft chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves. The forest felt like a living thing, full of life and possibility. It was a place that seemed to welcome everyone, no matter their past. "You know," Theodore said after a while, his voice contemplative, "I never imagined a day like this. I thought I'd be wandering alone forever, but this feels different. Like I belong here." Peter looked up at him, his small face bright with kindness. "You do belong," he said simply. "We all do. In this world, there's room for everyone." Benjamin, who had been walking ahead, stopped and turned, his gaze steady. "It's not about where you come from or what you've done," he said, his voice firm yet gentle. "It's about where you choose to be. And you've chosen to be here." Theodore smiled, the weight of his old burdens lightening with each step. "Thank you," he whispered, almost as though the words themselves were a small prayer of gratitude. They walked for hours, through the forest paths that twisted and turned, following the slow rhythm of the rain-soaked earth. The trees, still damp from the storm, seemed to glow in the morning light, their trunks dark and rich, their leaves shimmering like emeralds. The forest felt like a living tapestry, woven together with threads of kindness and quiet moments. As they walked, they shared more stories, of childhood memories, of dreams they held close, of moments of wonder they'd witnessed in the world. Each story, each laugh, each word was a little thread connecting them, weaving them together into a tapestry of their own. And as they neared the edge of the forest, the first hint of dusk began to settle into the sky, the air cool and still. The sky had turned soft purple, a beautiful canvas filled with streaks of pink and orange as the sun began to dip behind the hills. They returned to Benjamin's house, their hearts light, their minds full of the calm beauty of the day. That evening, as the fire crackled again in the hearth, they sat together at the table, sharing a simple meal of soup and bread, the kind of meal that was just enough to warm the heart and fill the stomach. Theodore looked around at the three pigs, his heart full. "I don't think I've ever known a place like this," he said, his voice quiet but full of emotion. "It's like the world has been kind to me in ways I never expected." Peter reached across the table and placed a small hoof on Theodore's. "Kindness is everywhere," he said, his voice soft. "Sometimes we just have to find it. And now you've found it." As the evening wore on, the fire's warmth surrounding them, Theodore felt his heart settle, the restlessness that had once consumed him now a distant memory. In this little house, with the three pigs who had welcomed him without question, he had found something he hadn't known he was searching for, a sense of home. And so, dear listener, as you settle into your own space, surrounded by warmth and quiet, remember this: no matter where you've been or where you're going, there is always a place for kindness, for warmth, and for rest. You, too, can find your way to a place where you belong. And with that, me drifts softly into sleep, like the wolf by the fire, and the pigs in their little homes. Let the calm of the night wrap around you, like a blanket, and let the peace of the forest carry you to dreams full of light. The following day, the world seemed to hold its breath in the quiet stillness after the storm. The little house, warmed by the fire and filled with the scent of fresh bread, was the perfect place for the four friends to rest their minds and let the slow rhythm of the world around them ease them into peace. As the morning sun filtered gently through the trees, Benjamin and Theodore spent the day working together, repairing small details around the house, mending the roof, fixing the gate. There was a natural harmony to their tasks, a shared sense of purpose in the way they moved together, quietly and contentedly. The three pigs, in their own homes nearby, busied themselves with their routines, but every now and then, one of them would come to join in the work or to share a laugh with their friend. There was something almost magical about these moments, how the work itself, simple and necessary, was done with such a sense of ease, as though the very act of doing it together was enough. No longer was there any rush, no fear of what might come next. It was as though time itself had softened, allowing space for the slow comfort of living simply, side by side. By late afternoon, as the shadows lengthened and the forest took on that soft, golden glow that comes just before dusk, the four of them found themselves sitting outside Benjamin's brick house, the cool breeze brushing through the trees. Theodore leaned back, feeling the warmth of the sun on his fur, his eyes closing in quiet contentment. "You know," Theodore said softly, as though speaking more to himself than anyone else, "I never realized how much peace can be found in just being." Peter, sitting beside him, nodded. "It's like the rain," he said thoughtfully. "It comes and it goes, but it always leaves something behind. Something that helps things grow." Benjamin's voice was gentle as he spoke. "Peace comes when we allow ourselves to stop, to breathe, and to let the world be just as it is." The four of them sat in silence, watching the light shift in the sky as the evening approached. The last of the day's warmth lingered in the air, and the sounds of the forest filled the quiet moments, birds calling to one another, the rustling of leaves in the trees, and the distant sound of a stream trickling over stones. And in that moment, the world felt perfect. It felt right. They had all come so far, in their own ways, and now they were here, together. Safe. At peace. As the night deepened, they retreated to the warmth of the house, the fire crackling merrily in the hearth. The conversation turned to quieter things, stories from long ago, hopes for the future, simple thoughts about the little joys in life. They spoke of things that didn't need to be said, but felt good to share anyway. Soon, the gentle pull of sleep began to settle over them. The fire's glow grew softer, and the wind outside whispered through the trees. Peter, his eyes heavy with sleep, stretched out on his little rug near the fire. Oliver, always the playful one, yawned and stretched as well before nestling down in his straw bed. Benjamin sat still for a moment longer, watching the embers in the fire flicker out. Theodore, feeling the weight of his own tiredness, slowly made his way to the bed Benjamin had offered him the night before. As he lay down, the soft bed and the warmth of the fire cradled him like a promise that, no matter what had come before, this moment was enough. He closed his eyes, letting the stillness of the night wash over him. It wasn't long before they were all asleep, the quiet rhythm of their breathing joining with the sounds of the night. Outside, the forest continued its song, a lullaby of wind and leaves, of soft rain and quiet stars. And as the night settled fully around them, Theodore's thoughts drifted gently, like leaves on a calm river. For the first time in a long time, he felt a peace he hadn't known was possible. No longer was he a lone wanderer, no longer was he a creature driven by fear or survival. He was simply a part of this world, a friend, a companion, and he knew that here, with these 3 pigs, he had found a place where he could rest, where he could truly be. And so, as the world outside rested, and as the night wrapped itself around the little house like a comforting embrace, the 4 friends drifted into sleep, content and safe in the knowledge that tomorrow would come, as it always did. But for now, they could rest, together, under the quiet sky. And you, dear listener, are invited to join them in this quiet rest. Let the peace of the night, the warmth of friendship, and the gentle comfort of a world at peace fill your heart. Let yourself be cradled by the stillness, wrapped in the love and kindness that surrounds you. For tonight, there is no hurry, no worries, only the sweet embrace of sleep. And so, let the world fade gently, as you rest with the pigs and the wolf, in a place where peace reigns, where kindness flows freely, and where the quietest of nights holds you in its care. Sleep well, and may your dreams be as peaceful as the forest, as warm as the hearth, and as kind as the friends who share them. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you have any thoughts, feedback, or ideas for future stories, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the soothing background music for a while. Wishing you a peaceful night. Take care, and sweet dreams.